Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I am back with our favourite football analyst, Gareth, to talk over another victory under Unai Emery. This time, Aston Villa 3, Bournemouth nil, and we've got loads of positive stuff to talk about on another Talking Tactics show. Gareth, great to see you, mate. Another great win.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Yeah, good to see you as well, mate. Yeah, it was. It was a good win. Never in doubt for me. I think a lot of other people sort of, typical Villa. It might be sort of a tricky thing, but for me, with the way we're playing and the way we're structured and the confidence in the side, it was never in doubt for me. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, there weren't really too many hairy moments in it. I think we controlled the game, and I think we were talking about, it was very difficult to put, three or four big performances together in a row. And Bournemouth obviously played, three of the big boys in the league, and then to come up against Villa, we did kind of hit them at the right time after they put so much effort into those previous games. So yeah, it was yeah, I was in your camp, mate. I don't think it was in date. I just think it was nice to get a few goals, nice for some other players to kind of hit the spotlight. And yeah, we're going to go through it all in this show. So yeah, we've got our usual slides, we've got our XG, we've got our passing networks, player influences, we've got our match of the day style analysis that Gareth very, very kindly spends a lot of time looking at. So we've got lots of things to cover. Please do hit that like button on this video. Please do hit the subscribe button if you are new. We are 14 away from 1100, so if we could hit that after today's video, that would be amazing. On the road to 2K. So yeah, please do hit that subscribe button and share it about. It's a great show that we do here on Talking Tactics, thanks to Gareth. So please do share it about and enjoy. So let's get on to our passing networks, mate. Yeah, plenty to see here, and it was great to see so many us looking much more relaxed on the ball. We touched on this in the last game, in the previous game, but even more so this game, and some of the one-touch passing that once we broke the lines was a joy to watch.
Yeah, I think if people sort of refer back to the last game and we look at the same passing network, a lot of those lines won't be as dark a red as what they were. And you can see again, like I keep speaking about looking for improvement and managers and coaches looking for improvement. And again, we can see that a lot more. A lot of passing networks, sort of passing combinations, between Mings, Martinez, Conte out to Cash, out to Moreno. And that back four is really starting to sort of find its feet in its passing combinations. And Mings into Ramsey is really good to see as well. And Louise with that little bit sort of more of an advanced role out of possession. Villa were in a 4-2-3-1 sort of in possession, but out of possession it was the normal 4-4-2. So we're starting to see Emery finding his feet in that sort of switch between the two, both in and out of possession. And yeah, the passing was good to see. It was a lot more crisp. As you say, we broke lines sort of thing. And that is all player positional dependent. That's not just sort of, we do this, we do that. It's positional dependent. And yeah, they really sort of found their feet a little bit more.
Yeah, it was nice, and we'll talk later on. But as the game went on, and they kind of started to have more chances and got that second goal, it was almost like that sense of relief. And then players were popping up in loads of different positions, and taking players on, and it was great to see that. I know we're missing Kamara at the moment, but that midfield four just doing all four of them trying to take it past players and playing progressive passes forwards as well.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say we haven't missed Kamara, and I
Mm.
think that's testament to the players like especially John McGinn, who's been really impressive in that sort of alongside Louise in that 4-2-3, and he's sort of found his way a little bit in this side, and he's sort of cemented his place almost. It's going to be
Yeah.
quite hard for Kamara to almost sort of to come back in really, because him and Louise are sort of really found that sort of niche of playing well together. They've got that sort of decent understanding, and like I say, managers always look for confidence, and this team is confident. Don't make no bones about it. This team is great, gaining in confidence week after week, and it's fantastic to see, really.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, quick look at our player influence stats. And again, no surprises to see Mings, Konsa, and Cash there, but Louise having a massive influence in the game as well.
Yeah, obviously, sort of Mings 69 out of 79 passes completed, and Konsa 60 out of 63. With Douglas Luiz sort of a bit further down the road there, but 39 out of 46, I think it's something like that. So we can see these are all obviously the players that are involved in the most passing sequences, and this is testament exactly to how we want to play, how he wants them to play. And when the passing network, we can see that Mings and that he is sort of creating that sort of opportunities where he is starting off that possession. He is that main ball player at the back, and he was looking to sort of pass out to those different options. And it's all about whether we can see players in forward positions. Can we sort of break lines from Mings and Konsa with those passes? And Konsa especially did that really well, I thought.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And is it obviously this looks at like average player position as well, and we had the passing network before. Um, is this like one of the things where we've got Ramsey and Louise in and around the same average position? Obviously, Moreno there out on the left. Is that, and then we've got McGinn, Buendia, Cash. Are we starting to see those little kind of triangles, those triangle networks where they'll kind of work in little groups to work the ball
Yeah,
forwards?
I mean, very much so. I think it's fair to say we've had these sorts of triangles. We've been identifying them on this pod now for a few weeks, so they're sort of starting to come together a little bit more between the sort of the midfield, sort of McGinn, Konsa, Cash, Luis Moreno, and Mings. We're starting to see those sort of, but it's about, again, like I refer back to his positional arguments. They have to be in these advanced positions to be able to find these balls. Now, I mean, obviously, in the player influence graphic is a bit difficult because the size of the text
Yeah,
sort of then
yeah,
sort of makes the positions a bit. So it's just a sort of a visual representation of it,
sure.
really. But yeah, we're starting to see that a bit more, and we're starting to see, especially Jacob Ramsey, adapt more and more. And we'll speak about that in a bit, but adapt more and more to this system and what is required of him in it.
Yeah, 100%. And quick look at our XG, massively outweighing Bournemouth's XG in terms of the game. And yeah, great to see us, creating so many chances.
Yeah, really good. No penalties in this.
Yes,
3.66 is
yes.
all from open play chances. It's fantastic. Now you might say, well, fair enough. We expect to see that against Bournemouth, but this is almost Manchester City levels of XG from Aston Villa almost, because we're just not used to seeing it. I don't know what the average is, to be honest, from Villa, but 3.66 is quite high. You're not going to see that every week, but against Bournemouth, it's good to see that, they're not the greatest of sides. We did capitalise on it a lot more, 20 shots, and the expected goals on target is 3.41, which means it takes into account everything and that shot. So it's fantastic to see, really.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously the timeline. Again, good chances created in the first half, but as I said before, later on in the game, shackles come off, and look, the quality of chances and putting the game to bed towards the end.
Yeah, exactly that. And I spoke about last week about sort of being able to make chances both in the first half and in the second half, and trying to continue that through the 90 minutes. And we're starting to see that again. We're starting to see that a lot more. I think, like I say, I referred back to it last week, and under Gerrard, we didn't do that so much. The first half was either quite poor, on the second half was either quite good in terms of chances created. So we're starting to see that a lot more sort of continuation throughout the game, and especially late on when teams are getting tired, we're taking our opportunities.
Yeah, yeah. And then just a last look at the game flow, and something that I guess from my point perspective, Emery's wanted to see us put performances in at home, make Villa Park a bit of a fortress. You know, Obviously the opposition has to come into account. It was Bournemouth, but nonetheless, great to see a game that we've pretty much dominated all the way through.
Yeah, you can only beat the team that's in front of you, and they're obviously very much different qualities in the Premier League. But this is it. It tells the graphic tells the story. Our expected threat throughout the game was of a reasonable level. It was pretty high, especially towards the end there, which is good to see. And we can see periods where we're starting well just before and after half time, and then later on in the game. So yeah, again, it's not going to happen every week, but it's good to see that when you're playing these sorts of sides, we can do that. We can achieve that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. So just going to get my screen shared. And while I'm doing that, as I say, guys, please do hit that like button and please do hit that subscribe button, because it helps us grow the channel and, helps us put together some of this amazing stuff that you're seeing right here. So, yeah, let's have a look at this. You wanted to focus on the build up of our shape, Gareth. So, yeah, just talk us through what we're seeing here, mate.
Yeah, I wanted to take you through the shape, and also I wanted to sort of reiterate the confidence in this side once again, because confidence breeds sort of you'll be able to carry out the game plan with more confidence and a better and sort of a higher standard. And again, here we can see that sort of like box midfield that I keep talking about. We've got players dropping in. McGinn's going to drop in there, and when he drops in, Louise moves forward, and vice versa. But it's usually the former. So therefore, you're getting more players in the opposition's half. The back four's nice and wide and spread out. You know, we saw it again, sort of against West Ham. I think there was the midfield, the back four was quite narrow, whereas the midfield was quite sort of caught wide. But that was out of possession. But in possession, it's sort of we're much more spread out. We're sort of
Yeah,
passing through the lines a lot more. We can see Ramsey's going to drop in as well, but I think that's Ramsey by the referee. So we're just
yeah,
going to sort of different players that are coming in and out and coming towards the ball. One comes in, one goes out, and again, it's all about positional play. So it's interesting that that's the case. And as we saw with the passing networks, a lot of stuff across the back four. You know, time build up, take your time. The structure is there, and I think they've got it. They're really starting to gain confidence in it and nail it down.
yeah, yeah. I'm just having a little tiny little issue with uh, the. Just bear with me 2 seconds here. Right, yeah.
But it's
So I
difficult.
think
It's
I've
very
gone down a
difficult to
couple
sort
of
of try and get that structure, and that comes
yeah,
with confidence. And they've obviously sort of got that game plan both in and out of possession. And we didn't see that under Gerrard. It was a 4-3-3. It was so boring in and out of possession. But we can transition in and out of possession shapes a lot better than what we could under Gerrard.
yeah, yeah. And then I think you wanted to again just focus a little bit more on that shape with in possession again. So we've got this one here, Buendia dropping deep, and yeah, looking at Ramsey pulling in, dropping into that area here.
Exactly. Somebody vacates a space, somebody else fills it. This is a Pep Guardiola type situation where it's again, I keep saying it, but it's about positional play. Those players have got the player on the ball has to have options on the ball. So he's got to be able to sort of see, right, where can I go? He can switch out to Moreno, knowing Buendia's quality, he could stick that with the outside of his right foot, and that could go right up the top there to Moreno if he needs to. It could go to McGinn, it can go into Ramsey. So you've got options on the ball, and it's about sort of where do you build from there.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just like I think for Villa fans as well, it's just so refreshing to see the options that players have got on the ball. I know we've covered that on previous episodes, but if they, I know it's about confidence, but if they have a way of playing and a philosophy of playing, that they have to keep doing it. They have to keep providing options on the ball. So it
Yeah,
is really good to see because
yeah,
they're only going to develop and get better.
yeah, exactly that. And when we talk about breaking lines, this is what that pass from Buendia will probably go into Ramsey. I can't remember what happened in a certain situation, but that pass goes into Buendia. You're in behind.
Mm,
You're in behind. You're in behind the Bournemouth midfield. He turns, and we know Jacob Ramsey can carry the ball. So this is where the sort of situations where we need to be. Is it ideal Buendia dropping that deep? Probably not. But he's done it, and we're in. You're in behind the Bournemouth midfield. So yeah, it's a clever ploy.
yeah. And then obviously talking about Ramsey, we've got a little bit of a feature on him, and you did cover him last week a little bit as well. But talk about more around his understanding of the game and understanding of how Emery wants him to play. And I think Saturday was a really good example of that.
I did, yeah. As an opposition analyst, you're obviously looking for trends. You're looking for trends in the opposition, but you're also, when you're analysing yourself, you're also looking for trends in the way that you do things, and you're also looking for improvement on it. And again, like I said, we talk about Ramsey. We talked about him, as you say, last week, and he's starting to really get the hang of this sort of his role in this system. And again, he picks up the ball, he comes inside, but he's not staying wide. He's not a typical wide man. He comes inside. He's there as an option on the ball, and as I said, we know we can carry the ball well, and he can drive. The only quandary I would have is if we recruit a left-sided midfielder in the summer, where does he then fit into that? I'm not quite sure about that yet because he's
Mm.
not a typical winger. Will we get a typical winger in? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, obviously it's down to him to keep playing the way he is. I mean, I was really impressed with his carrying with the ball, and he was back to that kind of, certain players have that ability to look quicker when they're dribbling with the ball than when they're running without the ball, and he seems to have that ability to kind of accelerate when he's got the ball, and yeah, it was great to see, and hopefully that goal will give him that confidence to go and get more, because that's what you want, don't you? You want that
Yeah,
that goal
exactly.
scoring
Yeah,
midfielder.
exactly. I mean, yeah, I'll put a couple of options there. I've got the inset, the screenshot there is sort of in the second half, I think, or in the first. Is it in the first half? The second
Yeah,
half.
that's first half in the inset, second
Yeah,
half on
so
the
you
big
can see it in
screen.
both halves. You can see what he's trying to do. Again, what I would say about this is you can see Ramsey, Buendia, Louise, and McGinn all in that shot.
Yeah,
That four box midfield is sort of the staple of what he is trying to do by the looks of it. In
yeah.
possession.
Absolutely, and you see him on the sideline, like telling the players where to be and making sure they're all set up. Obviously the Villa have put out a couple of like Unai cams, and it's just interesting to see how much he coaches from the sideline.
Yeah, it was interesting because the feed that I was watching must have had a pitch side microphone really close to him, and a lot of it is in Spanish because of the Spanish players. But it is really interesting to hear some of the things that he was saying and the detail that he wants people to be at, and in certain situations, it was really quite interesting to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. And then finally, something again that we've talked about quite a bit, and you've referenced last week's game, and then moving into this week's game as well. This getting bodies in the box, and it seems to be paying off at the minute.
Yeah, I debated on this one for quite a little while because it is a bit of a stretch because we're sort of 10 yard. The play is 10 yards higher up the pitch with Moreno and
Yeah,
the ball at his feet, but we can see, the point it still stands is that those players. If we see here, we've got 3 players that are just about to get into the box of West Ham. If we go on to the next one, we can see Douglas Luiz has joined that 4.
yeah,
So we've got now 4 going in the box, when in the previous side, Douglas Luiz is still sitting, dropping off. Now that's the difference because you're away from home. You're probably trying to be a little bit more safe, etc., etc. I kind of see that, but it's good to see that at home we're getting an extra body in the box, and that's difficult. In a 4-2-3-1, it can be quite tricky because one of your ball players is obviously sometimes out wide. But you're looking at Moreno to provide. That's what we're basically Emery is looking. He's not looking for Buendia to cross the ball or Ramsey. Or even Bailey to an extent. He's really looking at his fullback Moreno to provide that cross, and here we can see that players are getting in the box a lot more, and it's going to bring you goals.
absolutely, 100%. And then you've got it here in the second half as well. I think this was Louise having a header and again making that extra man in the box.
Yeah,
I
just
think here,
another
just
example.
observing
Yeah,
it, we've
exactly
got
that.
4 against 3 here.
Yeah, just another example of it. And again, like I say, this is a good example of the benefits of getting players in the box. If you can create an overload in that box, and like you so rightly say, get a 4v3, you're onto a winner. And obviously McGinn's not in the picture here, so we're obviously a little bit safer sort of, defensively. We're not worried. Luis is the one that's obviously got that license to get in the box.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Well, long may it continue, because we seem to be getting more used to the way Emery wants to play. The players are getting more confident. I think today Ashley Young was on TalkSport talking about kind of how Emery is, big on how he wants them to play, and the players are responding to it. And you know, just kind of rounding off this segment, we've got some big games coming up after the international break, and we've kind of almost solve that issue of beating the teams that are below us, but we need to kind of beat the teams that are around us now. We've got Chelsea, we've got Brentford, we've got Fulham. It's an opportunity to make a push for, dare I say it, European football.
Yeah, it is. I think, in my opinion, it's probably a bit of a stretch. I think we're all probably in agreement with that overall, but it depends, doesn't it? It all
Mm,
depends on whether we can sort of push on and gain sort of that, get that sort of, not a freak result, but sort of get a better result, sort of get a couple of wins together that maybe are not so much expected, and just generally get points on the board. We just don't want confidence to be knocked. That is the thing, because we're on a good run. We don't want confidence to be knocked, so yeah, it's about progression.
yeah, yeah. Well, that first week back, we've got Chelsea, Leicester away, then Forest at home. They're games that we've got to look to be getting some good results out of. Otherwise, I fear that we'd be banished to 11th for the rest of eternity. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, my prediction models have us sort of 11th or 12th, to be honest. That's been the case since Emery come in. It's been for quite a little while now, and I think that's probably where we probably deserve to be. Sort of
Yeah,
11th, 10th foot of push, but getting anything at Chelsea would be great. And at Leicester probably, because Leicester is sort of
yeah.
playing quite well, but Forest at home is another sort of Bournemouth type scenario, in my opinion, where a win, is a necessity.
Absolutely, mate. Well, once again, phenomenal, phenomenal analysis. As I say before, thank you so much, Gareth, for that. Please do hit that like button. Please do hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Help us grow. As I say, we're tiny little bit away from 1100 on the road to 2K. So please do help us grow the channel. We're going to be back next week for a special live show. You've got a couple of days because Gareth needs some time to prepare, to get your questions in. Please get them into @VillaParkPod on Twitter. Either just reply to the tweets that we put out, or DM us with your questions. But please make it in the next couple of days. Anything to do with analysis of the games, anything to do with statistics. If Gareth can do it, he will do it. Also, players that we're linked with. Obviously, there's been one or two names in the press. We're probably going to cover a couple of those players as well. But if there's anyone else you'd like him to do some analysis on, then please do hit us up at Villa Park Pod. Again, Gareth, thank you so much. Where can people find you on Twitter?
Yeah, find me at that Garate JC. And like I say, as always, any of the slides or anything anybody wants to see, just give me a shout.
Brilliant, mate. Yeah, thank you so much. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be back, as I say, next week for a live show. We'll be back with more bulletins in the week if there's any more news. But as always, we'll follow the Villa.